marks the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either, and it has not. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes, but I find myself, Gilbert talks a little bit about everything. So I'm going to try to really keep it to taxes today the best I can. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I am an enrolled agent. I prepare taxes. I talk to the IRS. I solve tax problems. I give business advice and sometimes life advice. If you need to get me, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. My email is gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. I want to welcome everybody to the program this very, very wet morning. It is, what's the temperature outside? It's not very, it's going to be the temperature's okay, but it's wet. Well, if you're a pansy, you love this kind of weather. But otherwise, what is it going to be? What's the official temperature right now? 44.2 right here at the radio station, and we're going to have rain all day. It is a major frizzy hair day. I can tell right now. So Todd is feverishly looking up the weather report for me on this 23rd day of February 2019. So we have had a very busy week. Tax refunds were released Tuesday. There was a trickle, and then Thursday there was a waterfall of tax refunds released. So if you were among those that has been waiting for a tax refund, if you had children, dependents, that you claimed the earned income tax credit on your tax return, the child tax credit, the additional child tax credit, your tax return, regardless of how early you filed it, was held for review until February 15th. At that point, it was scrutinized by the IRS's computer, and if everything was okay, it was released. Now, they were not supposed to start releasing refunds till next week, till next Tuesday, and they were talking about the 26th and the 27th, 28th being the big days they were going to start releasing them, but they surprised everybody doing that. And the thing that I saw, which gets me to Gilbert Talks a little bit about everything, is, we were flooded with media about how this was going to be the worst tax year ever because of the government shutdown. But every year they say it's going to be the worst tax year ever. Todd, you and I have been working together now 5 years. This is my 5th season. It feels like I started this just yesterday. I do 14 to 16 shows during the tax season, a little bit early, but into the tax season a year, depending on how the Saturdays fall out. Every tax season, there has been government drama around the refunds, and it's just, when are the people going to learn? They're just do what you do every year, folks. Don't change your life to the headlines. If there's anything we've learned, they're all liars. There's no truth in them. And in the report, it's so bad. It's gotten, I've got a few texts. You haven't talked about Trump lately. No, it's not that I haven't talked about Trump. There's just been so much going on with taxes. I actually do want to talk about taxes. And actually do want to give people advice on what to do and get into some tax law. But you can't help but talk about the politics behind it all, because so much of it is politically driven. And I know there's 1,000 people on television and radio and whatever else, blogging and texting and social media-ing and talking about everything, and everybody knows. All I can talk about is what I experience every day in my job. I talk to the IRS on the phone, or I talk to agents at the IRS. There is no IRS. There are people that work at the IRS. And I talk to agents there all the time. When I say there's no IRS, there's no, you don't talk to this thing. You talk to the people there, and they all have their job, and I do what I need to do to get your case resolved and hopefully get it in your favor. Many times I win, sometimes I lose. I can only go there with, what I have and represent the people and do what I do. But it's just, somebody yesterday was in my office and they said, it's very discouraging. The headlines are very discouraging. So don't look at the headlines. That's what I've decided weeks ago. I'm just not going to. It's one lie after another. So why put yourself up to it? Now I was at a bank and they had CNN on, and all you hear is blah blah blah, Trump bad, blah blah blah, Trump bad. That's all you hear. Everything's Trump, Trump, Trump. No, I did a poll here at Gilbert Talks Taxes, and President Trump's approval rating is at 100%. He is doing the job we sent him there to do. Bottom line, he is doing the job. I have never felt so good about what is going on in the White House as I do during this man's presidency. It's unbelievable. And every day, how he's not affected by it, I don't know. Only the grace of God. I said, when he first started, God's going to put him there, and if God's going to put him there, God will see him through, so he can do whatever God wants him to do. And if you remember, I had the scripture out of Jeremiah about Nebuchadnezzar, who rules the land because God gave it to him to rule, because Nebuchadnezzar obeyed God. And as long as Nebuchadnezzar obeyed God, God would be with him. God said that. He said, everything is his, I give it to him. So when I read that, I was settled with supporting the man, and it has been an incredible ride through. So it's not that I'm not an, there's never Trumpers and always Trumpers. That's the thing now. That's the new thing now. No, if he does something I don't agree with, I don't agree with it. But if he does something I agree with, I agree with it. And it's that way. It's from a policy view. As far as the person goes, I mean, we're all flawed people. That's why we needed a savior. That's why all of us need God. But to watch this man, all of us need Jesus. But to watch what this man is going through is just incredible. And it has really encouraged me in my own, personal life and the problems that I have and the things that I have. The latest example, and I will get onto taxes here in a minute. Let me just get this out of the way. The latest example of just how false these headlines are and the media and everything, I've got an email from Stuart Goldstein about how is it that the media can one more time fall for a hoax and a fake story. And he uses the example of, now I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Todd, my engineer this morning, Todd, how do you pronounce the name again? Jussie Smollett. I didn't even know who he was, because I really don't have time to watch television, let alone I don't watch television. I didn't know who he was. And what is his profession? He's an actor. Okay, is he a movies or television? He's a television actor. Okay, whatever that is, whatever Empire is. Okay, so he is on this program. And what do actors do for a living? Let me help you. Actors lie for a living. That is what they do. They play phony people. They play act. They lie. So they are liars. So that was always my problem when an actor stands up and tells us what they think about anything, because to begin with, why do I care what they think about anything? Number two, they're professional liars. They never had any credibility with me to begin with. So, surprise, a liar gets on and lies. About what? Donald Trump. And being assaulted. Now, I had heard bits and pieces of the story from people, and he goes out on social media, does this whole thing, and makes up this story, and the whole thing was a hoax, and the media ran with it. And of course, all the media drama queens run to social media to give their opinion. So from what I understand, the story was suspicious from the beginning, and local police didn't even buy it from day one. So finally the guy gets outed, and all that plays out. But this is the part, and I said a month ago, we don't have a broken government. I know, this sounds, people look at me when I say that. We don't have a broken government, folks. Government is working just fine. They're doing what we've set them up and allowed them to do. Now, have we allowed them to do too much? That's a whole other conversation for people much smarter than me. But they are doing their job. The proof of it, a bunch of people got their refunds Thursday and Friday. A lot of people got their refunds. A lot of money went out. Tax returns are being filed. Everything's being done. We're moving along just fine into tax season. As a matter of fact, we are having a very, very smooth tax season. Contrary to what they told us was going to happen. It's moving very, very smooth. What we have is not a broken government. What we have is a broken media. Media has always been the media, the powers that be, whether it's print or it used to be television, now it's this whole digital world that we've created, were gatekeepers. We were talking about Walter Cronkite last week. It was in a meeting, and Walter Cronkite came up. And you know, Walter Cronkite, those of you that are old enough to remember him, and it wasn't that long ago, really, I say that but Walter Cronkite, if he said it, it was truth. And people believed him. Why? Because he actually researched what he said and didn't say it unless he knew he could back it up. He stood behind what he had. He took ownership of what he said. And if Walter Cronkite said it, it was true. We trusted him. We trust him to give us the truth. Today, the media, like this, say it again, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Jussie Smollett, okay, because it's spelled a way I've never seen it spelled, makes up this whole story. The media runs with it, portrays it as another example of where Trump is running the country, and then they move on to the next story. Oh, forget the fact that the guy just lied, made the whole thing up. No, they're on to the next story already. And everybody will forget who this man was by Sunday. And Monday, it'll be the new story. And in his email, there was a spreadsheet that somebody worked very hard to put together. 49. These are documented news stories with the links. 49 stories where people did exactly what this man did. Alleged that they were chased for being either homosexual or a minority group or African American or whatever their thing was. They were attacked by Trump supporters, graffitied and assaulted. Every one of those stories was a lie. And the media reported it like it was this giant fact. And then when the whole story came out, they never went back to recant the story. They never went back to apologize. They never went back. They just moved on to the next story. And that is really what is wrong with this country. That is really, the texts are coming in, Todd, and the phone is ringing. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Remember the Bible verse, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And as I ended my meeting with the person that was very concerned about what's going on in our country, I said, these are great times to be in. We've never seen good and evil so clearly as we're seeing it now. It really is a parting, like it says in the Bible. You're going to have, what is it? The sheep, the goat, the wheat, and the tare. There's going to be a separation, and it's going to happen, and we're actually seeing it. I think it's a great time. So I'm going to talk today about, I've got a question. I'm going to go ahead and get into that before the break. Actually, I've got several questions here and several texts. Question, a couple made $90,000 last year. Congratulations. They made $8,000 in donations and medical expenses. They were told they could not claim the $8,000. Is that true? Okay, it's not that you can't claim it. It's that, thanks to the new law, we have a $24,000 standard deduction. So this $8,000 in donations and medical expenses that you had, if you could itemize, which before you could itemize on Schedule A, we can still itemize. You can still claim this. You can still put it on there. It's just not going to generate an itemized deduction because the itemized deduction has to be more than $24,000, which this has been great. Most people that I have to do with, again, I can only talk about my people and what I'm seeing. The people that I have to do with, most of them are getting larger refunds than before because of that $24,000. Primarily because of that $24,000. The other reason is they're getting tax credits for dependents doubled. EITC, earned income tax credit, is still pretty much the same as it was before, but and I'm going to get into that earned income tax credit after the break. I'm going to discuss for low, moderate income taxpayers. I'm just going to go through it, just explain it all in some detail. But it's giving you more money. Now, there are some people that might have gotten a smaller refund than last year. Let's say, and I had this yesterday. They last year their refund was $2,000. This year their refund was $1,700, something like that, $1,700. So $300 less. Okay, and so when I broke it down, they had earned $10,000 more than last year. The spouse had worked a lot of overtime. The husband got a raise at his job. The two things together raised them $10,000. They had less withholding. They were in a lower tax bracket. They paid less tax. So when I broke it down for them, they actually got more money than last year because they paid less tax than last year. Substantially less tax, like $700 less tax. Their withholding was $600 less. Their tax was less. They were in a lower tax bracket, all because of the new law. So they could have looked at it and said, well, we got more money last year. Well, you paid in more money last year. You were taxed at a higher rate last year. No, you're doing really good. When I broke it down for them, it was crystal clear. The problem is most people don't know how to break it down. Most tax preparers don't understand this. They just tell you you're getting more money, you're getting less money, and kind of vaguely understand. But the law, no, it's been better for everybody. $24,000 standard deduction for married filing joint. Last year it was $12,700 to be exact. $24,000 this year. It is reducing that taxable income down, and you're in a lower tax bracket. So for you to get credit for your donations and your medical, also your mortgage interest goes on that form. Your there's also some miscellaneous things at the bottom, what you paid your tax preparer last year, and some other things go there, but those are incidental. Very few people make those. They have a floor. And then medical, which goes at the top, but medical is capped to 7.5%. So you've got to have over a certain amount for that to even go on Schedule A. So it's not that you can't claim it, it's that you're not going to have an itemized deduction. And remember, the income tax part and property tax part, the tax deduction is capped this year at $10,000. And that's why all those people, many members of the media that live in New York and California, which is where most members of the media live, were complaining because their property taxes are so high. Every year they can write those property taxes off. They get to itemize because at a $12,700 standard deduction, there's people in New York that their property tax is like $15,000, $16,000, $17,000. I've seen it. It almost seems like you paid that much property tax. No wonder those states have so much money. So they itemize just on that. Well, that's capped at $10,000 now. So it doesn't matter how much property tax you pay or how much property tax you pay on all your property. It is capped $10,000. You're not going to get over that. So itemizing is getting even harder for them. But for most people with a $24,000 standard deduction, it's really, really helped. And we are at 20 after. Let's go ahead and take that first break, Todd. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM, FM 100.9.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300. We are back. Good morning, everybody. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming us at www.wcab59.com. I almost gave out my website address. .com. Also, you got a great picture here, and my hair, Robin, if Robin's listening, although she says she doesn't like to get up at 8 in the morning, my hair does look fabulous. I talked to Robin about coming and doing a house visit in case my hair didn't look fabulous because of the humidity, but no, it looks great. And you've done a great job with that. It's been consistent. The color is great, Todd. Todd, who set that up, our live webcam. Those of you listening, thank you very much. I keep wanting to remind our people that are live streaming, but now they can get us at 100.9 over there in Polk County. From what I understand, they're getting a pretty good signal too. Let me talk about, if you need to get me, my telephone number, 828-289-9300. You can call the studio here and ask a question, as several of you have. I'm going to try to get to some of those, answer some more of those as I move on. If you've sent me an email and I haven't responded, I am so sorry, but I am a little backed up. But Gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. People have asked me what social media do I use. I don't use any. I refuse to use social media. I find it to be very unsocial. If you want me, just pick up the phone and call me. Todd, I refuse to have an account so people can get on there and just abuse you. You know, it's ridiculous, the things that go on. I actually looked at it one time and said, no. My office is at 113 Whitesides Road, Rutherfordton, right up the street from the studio here, right next to Southern Baptist Church. My office in Tryon is at 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic Tryon downtown. The same number will get us for any of these. Now, I want to talk about earned income tax credit. Okay, so the IRS is urging people to review your eligibility because you can get earned income tax credit even if you don't have dependents, if you're low income and within certain ages. So they are saying everybody should really review this. My software that I use is professional software, of course, and it prompts me whenever any of those indicators come up for earned income tax credit. But we do an interview when you come in, talk to you, and I try to get as much of that information on the front end. But they're urging to review your EITC, low to moderate income people and families. The credit can lower the tax someone owes or generate a refund. Actually, it is the number one reason people get a refund, earned income tax credit. There's only two reasons most people get a refund. They over withheld and they're reconciling their tax return to get any money they overpaid back, or they're claiming credits of some kind. Okay, and it's adjusting your withholding, and most of the credits are because of dependent children. That is the number one reason why people get a refund, and it's the reason we have identity theft. It's the reason we have tax fraud. It's the reason we have to put layers of security on our computers, earned income tax credit and the child tax credit. But earned income tax credit, so review eligibility. Taxpayers must earn an income. That's why it's called earned income. You have to have income. They don't give it to you for nothing. People that don't have jobs and don't make income, try to ask them about getting a refund. No, you don't have a job. You're not earning anything. It's called earned income. Tax credit. So you have to have earned income of $54,884 or less. That's what we call the phase out. It phases out and it goes to zero on earned income tax credit. Now, in the child tax credit, the phase out is much higher. I'll talk about that one another time. So you've got to earn $54,884 or less. Taxpayers must file, and this seems kind of obvious to me, taxpayers must file a federal tax return to claim the credit, even if no tax is due. Typically in the past, if you have no tax due, you have a zero liability as we call it, you do not need to file a tax return. Typically, senior citizens on Social Security, if that is your only income, will not have a tax liability. If you do, other people, if you make a small amount of money, now with standard deduction being at $12,000 for single, $24,000 for married, if you make less than that, you will have no tax liability. Because what happens is that is your income minus your standard deduction equals your taxable income. So no taxable income, no tax liability. But what happens is if you made less than those amounts and they withheld from your payroll, you've got an amount of money in box 2 on your W-2, you file a tax return, you will get that money back. So you want to file your tax return to get a refund of that amount of money. So you've got to file it even though no tax is due and filing a return is not otherwise required, even if you don't qualify, even if you didn't qualify for EITC in the past. Filers should review their eligibility every year because a situation may have changed you're not aware of. A lot of times what happens is I will have a person, a lot of times it's a single person, because typically people with children know they're going to get this, but it's a single person who, for whatever reason, didn't work very much last year, and they will actually qualify for the low income portion of earned income tax credit, and it could be $300, $400, $500, $600, depending on what it is, and they'll get that, and they'll be pleasantly surprised to see they get a refund. Taxpayers who are married and file a separate return don't qualify for earned income tax credit. I've talked about married filing separately before. Couples want to come and file married filing separate for whatever reason. They think that's the way to go. If you have earned income tax credit because there's children involved and you file married filing separate, you will not get the credit. So people will say, we're going to file married filing separate. I'm going to file the children. He's not going to file the children. And want to do it. No, it doesn't matter who files the children. You're not going to get the credit. A lot of times, then the question is, why do you want to file married filing separate? They'll say, my husband or wife is going to have their refund held because of, could be any of a number of reasons, alimony's due, child support, child support, the student loan is the big one, but child support, or you have a state liability. I was going to say alimony is no longer deductible. That changed with the new law. Alimony income's not you don't claim it, and alimony expense you don't deduct. That's gone. But student loan, a lot of people have their refunds held because of student loan. What happens in that case is you still file married filing jointly, but the injured spouse rules kick in and you file a form for injured spouse so that the one spouse will get their earned income tax credit, prorated for what they should have gotten. So the entire refund will not be capped. But married filing separate is not the answer to that problem. Filers must have a valid Social Security number for themselves, their spouses, and any qualifying child listed on their tax return. a valid Social Security number versus an ITIN, an individual taxpayer ID number, usually a number that begins with the number 9. Any number that begins with 9 does not qualify for earned income tax credit. Taxpayers must have earned income. I already said that. This includes money they earn from working as an employee or being self-employed. So the definition of income there, you can be self-employed. I've had people think they don't qualify for it because they didn't get W-2s, but they worked as an independent contractor and they got a 1099. Or they may have just had a home business. If you have that, you do qualify. Todd is signaling me it's break time. Let's just wait one more minute. Let me get through this. Filers may be married or single. Again, single without dependents, you could get it. And head of household, of course, if you qualify for head of household. Taxpayers can be with or without qualifying children. A child must have lived, and this is a key thing here, a child must have lived with a taxpayer for more than 6 months in 2018. So where we get into divorce and separation issues and questions of who can claim the child, it's going to boil down to, and tax court has upheld this in a number of cases, it's not even disputable, this is the rule. The child, with which taxpayer did the child live 6 months and a day or more? 6 months, half the year and a day. Who did they live with? Now, we do run into situations where the taxpayers will agree to, one says you claim them 1 year, I'll claim them the other year, and these kind of rules where they're sharing custody and the child lives in both homes. I ask the question, they give me the answer. That's all I need to know. How you work it out, but the rule says 6 months and a day. The child must meet the age, residency, relationship, and joint return rules. So there's the age, the residency, the relationship, and the joint return rules. We call these the tests. There's the 4 tests. And call me and I can go over those, a lot of detail on that. Filers who don't have children must also meet the age, residency, and dependency rules. Members of U.S. military serving in combat zones have special rules that may apply. So those of you that are active military serving, I'll ask you those questions. We've had a few of those over the years, more than you'd think. Those who do not, for those who do their own taxes, IRS Free File, they have software that will help you to figure that out. And there's also the IRS Volunteer Program. They have sites around the country, so you have questions, you can follow up with those. Now, know when to expect your refund. By law, if a taxpayer claims the EITC, Earned Income Tax Credit, the IRS can't issue the refund before mid-February. So interesting, this email from the IRS, Todd, said by law. You remember the first year they did this, I said, they're very happy with the results. This is going to be law. They're going to do this every year going forward. It really slowed the tax fraud and the ID theft down. So it is law now by February 15th. And the IRS expects, now here it is, the IRS expects the earliest of these refunds to be available to taxpayers' bank accounts or debit cards starting on February 27th. No, they got them Thursday. They got them Thursday the 21st, Friday the 22nd. It was really good. And of course, you can have that refund direct deposited or a check sent to you, a number of options for that. So that's Earned Income Tax Credit in a nutshell. Let me go ahead and take a break, and we're going to come back. And a couple of things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about protecting your data. And the IRS issued a warning about these ghost preparers. I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the business tax issues we got coming up. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM, 100.9 FM. This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous. We are back. That was quick. WCAB 590. AM 100.9 FM. There's just so much to talk about. I don't know. I've got so many directions to go. So, the IRS issued a thing. Todd, ghost preparers. Do you know what that is? Ghost preparers. Ghost preparers are people that just set up shop and disappear after April 15th. Really, some of them will disappear by the middle of March. They'll be gone because the bulk of the filing has already been done. For refunds, because that's all they care about. All they care about is getting refunds, overcharging people. I mean, some of these guys will charge ridiculous prices because most people aren't aware of what their refund's going to be. They have no idea. They know they get whatever, especially people low income, low to moderate income people with maybe 3 or 4 children can get refunds as big as, $8,000-$9,000 because of earned income tax credit, child tax credit. So these guys will set up shop and they'll do anything from blatant tax fraud to bait and switch, where they'll tell you they'll take your fee, they'll take their fee out of your refund using a legitimate bank product that's offered. There are several banks that offer a refund product. The way those refund products work is your refund, and you sign paperwork for this. This isn't something they can just do. Well, they can just do it, but you have to sign paperwork and they have to disclose a lot of things to you. So basically your refund goes into a bank, then that bank takes your refund and divides it up, pays the tax preparer, pays fees for doing the service, and then sends your refund either into your bank account or the tax preparer will print a check at his office. Okay, there's going to be one of those two, typically one of those two options. So these guys will then turn around and change the fee. They'll do anything. I mean, the stories I've heard over the years of what they do is horrible. And then the worst of it, they'll steal your ID. So next year, they'll steal your identification or your children's identification. Next year, you go to prepare your tax return, and I'll send that tax return off to the IRS and it'll come back rejected. Social Security number has been used on has been used by another tax return filer. So, and you know what that means? That means you've been compromised. And that's the beginning of your problems there. And that problem really never goes away. You will have to use a security pin. So right now the IRS has no answer to that problem. So the IRS is warning taxpayers to avoid unethical tax return preparers. They call them ghost preparers. By law, anyone who is paid to prepare or assist in preparing federal tax returns must sign the return and include their preparer tax identification number. It's your PTIN. All legitimate preparers will have a PTIN. Now, you can go to the IRS website, plug in that PTIN, or search for preparers, and they will give you that preparer and the PTIN. Actually, I'm getting ahead of their email there, so I already know where this is going. The ghost preparers avoid signing the tax return. Instead, they often inflate any potential refund, print the return, and instruct the taxpayer to sign and mail it into the IRS. Okay? By law, and now I'm saying this, by law, all tax preparers, and we say the law says anyone who prepares more than one tax return, because you're allowed to do your own, more than one tax return, so that's a tax preparer, must e-file, electronically file. That's law. It's a mandate. I have to e-file. Now, if I can't e-file for a number of reasons, there may be a form that you can't e-file. There are some forms that the platform just does not accept, or your tax return is extremely complicated and has a lot of backup that needs to be included in it, a lot of explanations, and again, probably any tax return that complicated will have forms that you cannot e-file. I mean, I've had tax returns that look like, small brochures. I mean, they're that thick, and oh yeah, I did one time that was 20-something pages. Yeah, I know, 20 plus pages, and that was just the tax return itself. Then there was all the backup documents that went with it. It was and those things I send certified mail because I want to make sure they get them, and I get a receipt at the post office, or I'll include a signature card, so somebody at the other end has to sign for it. I typically do that kind of thing. So you have to e-file. Now there are some people, and I get this question from people, there are some people who are, for whatever reason, religiously, or they just have a preference, again, whether it's religious or they just don't want their information out there on the internet, even though I tell them it's encrypted, it's secure, from my server to the IRS's server. It's a direct pipeline. There's nothing to interfere. I am an ERO, electronic return originator, so I send it to the platform. The third party is a highly qualified company. They don't want that stuff on the internet. They want a paper file. Fine, you can do that. There is a form I attach saying the taxpayer chose not to e-file. And that's fine. You can do that. I've had some people do it for religious reasons. They choose not to. Fantastic, no problem. We can do that. But by law, other than a few exceptions, I have to e-file. If you go to a tax preparer that says, we're going to go ahead and mail your return in, that is a major red flag. And then look at the return. Right where you sign your name, below it, there's going to be a bunch of lines. And those lines say preparer name, preparer address, preparer PTIN, preparer EIN, and a few other questions. Third party designee, and is this preparer self-employed or not? There's a little box, yes, no box there. And PTIN telephone number. Those things go there. If that is blank, run. You are getting ready to get scammed. Or if it says self-prepared, because professional software by default will print self-prepared on there. Some people that are trying to scam you will white that out so that you can't see that it says that. But if there's nothing there, or it says self-prepared, run. You're dealing with an unscrupulous tax preparer, and your tax return is probably fraudulent. Probably. Okay? So, and especially if you're paying them money to do it, because that's definitely illegal. A paid preparer must put their information on there, and you must have a PTIN. So this is crucial, and the IRS is saying to avoid these people at all costs. Now, you can go to the IRS website, like I told you, and you can check tax preparer credentials, and there'll be other information on there. I actually checked mine out last year. I'm on there. I was happy to see that. If you want to file a complaint against a preparer, or if you want to file a complaint that a preparer did something without your consent, changed your tax return, or the tax return that got filed later you found out was not what you filed, they have form 14, it's 14157, 14157. It's the complaint form, and if they changed your tax return, you want to use 14157-A. And the IRS takes this very seriously for fraud and misconduct. It's a fraud and misconduct affidavit. So, but more importantly than that is they are stealing your ID. That is the part that concerns me. And this is the time of the year. I can't have a tax season show without talking about scams. So this is the time of the year now when the phone starts ringing. You're going to pick it up, and it's going to be somebody claiming to be from the IRS who says to you, Mr. Taxpayer, we got your tax refund. Everything's just fine. We got your tax return. We're getting ready to send you that tax refund. Everything's great. But we see here that something's wrong and we can't read the bank account number. Or something happened and we need your bank account number. Just to confirm. Let's confirm that bank account number. Okay? The IRS will never do this. Why people keep falling for this, I can't figure it out. And every year we warn them and we tell them that this could happen, and they do anyway. Why would you give your bank account information to anybody that just calls you claiming to be from the IRS? And they usually have an accent. They ain't from around here. You know? And Todd like that.
Their name's not really Paul.
No, and their name's not Paul from the IRS, and they're not friendly. But they pick up and they say, we don't. The only thing I see is that something happens to people waiting for a refund in their brain when they hear IRS. And it's like all common sense just stops. And they go, Gilbert messed that thing up again. Let's get. And they give them the information. And then they go to their bank account the next day and there's no money left there. And they want to know what happened. You just gave somebody all your information. The IRS will never call you. So what happens if there is a mistake? Legitimately, because people say, well, I didn't know. Because they call me. The IRS just called me. There was a problem. I'm just letting you know. What problem? My address was wrong, and they needed my address and my bank account number. Did you give it to them? Yes. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. So, let's say your tax return got filed, and you or the tax preparer or whoever made a mistake on the bank account. What happens is, when your refund is not going to go into somebody else's bank account. Okay, the bank has some checks and balances there. The names have to match, the socials have to match, the bank account information has to match. So what will happen is they'll try to deposit it. The bank, and it may take 24 or 48 hours, it's not automatic, but the bank will then reject it. It goes back to the IRS. This is all electronic. This is not like a check is in the mail. It's electronic. It goes back to the IRS. The IRS's system will look at it, and then they will automatically issue a refund check to that address. It's just standard protocol. I cannot call and say, oh, they just changed their bank account number, can we change it? No, it doesn't work that way. Once I send that thing off, that's the bank account number they're going to use. So right after you file your tax return, don't go open up a new bank account and close your old one, because that's what's going to happen. So it goes back to the IRS. They will put a check in the mail. And by the way, most states follow this protocol too. Put a check in the mail. So 4 weeks maybe, you will get a check. 4 weeks from filing, maybe 5, you'll get a check in the mail. What happens if your check is lost in the mail or stolen or whatever? If you call the IRS and they say they mailed a check, they can do what's called a trace, see if the check has been deposited. If it's been deposited, there's a form for that. As you just said, to claim that it wasn't you. They'll research where it went, and if in fact it wasn't you, they will issue you another refund. If nothing's happened to the check, it hasn't been cleared, they'll stop payment on it and issue you another check. Okay? If you get a check in the mail, remember, you have 1 year to cash that thing. 1 year. Okay? Any longer than a year and the check is invalid, you can request another one, and they will send you another one. Okay? But it's just the time and energy to do that. Let's go ahead and take the last break here, and I'm going to talk about the busiest day of the year. The rush, what to do going forward, and some business things we need to talk about. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, 590 AM, 100.9 FM.
People come up to me all the time and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return. I just got my refund. Any idea what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I've got an idea. Call NC Tractor and Farm Supply on Railroad Avenue. Get yourself a brand new Massey Ferguson. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. And when you're talking to Phil, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. You know what he'll do for you? Absolutely nothing. But me, he's going to give me a discount when I buy my Massey Ferguson. This is Gilbert. I've made a career out of helping businesses. Something else that can help businesses is a good sign. Let me tell you about DS Signs and Graphics right here in Spindale. Whether it's outdoor signage, banners, printing, or promotional items, call Alex at 828-286-4900. And remember, a good sign is good business.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes. We are back. I was reading the text here. Keith in Ellenboro, I will look into that. He hasn't gotten his refund yet. So you haven't gotten your refund. Where do you go to check your refund? Where do you go? IRS.gov. IRS.gov. Now there are apps, by the way. The IRS has an app. I'm very leery about using an app because you're putting your social security number and your filing status out there. You're not putting your date of birth out there, or your name, but you are putting your social security number out there. So I get very leery. But IRS.gov, G-O-V, IRS.gov. They also have a telephone number that you can call, and I had that number written down right here. So they got the tool, the Where's My Refund tool. If you file an amended return, they also have Where's My Amended Return tool, which amended returns are a little trickier to track because there's multiple years involved, but they have a tool for that. But Where's My Refund? Now, if you don't want to do it on the internet or download an app or any of that stuff, you can call 800-829-1954. Now, this is an automated tool. You punch in your social security number, your filing status, and your anticipated refund. That's the only information you need, and that's the only information you should give them. Any website that wants any information other than that to tell you your refund status is a scam, and they're trying to get information from you. They don't need your bank account number. They don't need your date of birth. They especially don't need your date of birth. And Social Security and date of birth, that's all they need to clean out your bank account. So you're good with that. You can check it. Most states, of the 40 states that do have income tax and do a refund of income tax, they have a Where's My Refund tool on their website, and most of them similarly, all they need is your social security number. I was really impressed I did a tax return for a person that travels. He works in multiple states, and one of the states, I can't remember right now, I want to say it was Oklahoma. One of the states actually just needed the last 5 digits of your social security number. I thought that was very, very good. That's taking security to a whole other level there. You didn't have to put the whole number in, just the last 5 digits, and your filing status and your anticipated refund to tell you what you needed. But anything other than that, okay, so where's my refund? Now, businesses. Okay, let's talk about self-employed business here for the last 7 minutes I have left. By the way, speaking of businesses, Massey Ferguson, Phil, looking good, huh? Have you seen the new? Got the fence up, got it full of tractors there. It looks great, a lot of activity. I talked to Jim about doing a remote show from there. Actually, I mentioned it to Phil. I said, when you get this set up, we should do a remote Gilbert Talks Taxes right here from the maintenance bay there. Get set up there and do it. You'll be my engineer? Sure. You will? Do a remote from there, set up that. Jesse can bring the coffee and the donuts. What a way. Well, 8 o'clock in the morning, I don't know that we need hot dogs. But what a way to start a Saturday morning. A gallon of coffee, a box of donuts, Todd and Gilbert. That's the start of a good Saturday morning right there. Yeah, have people drop by. I think it'd be a great idea. I mentioned it to him, but he just nodded yes, but we'll see. He was very busy that day, a lot going on, getting set up after the fire. But it looks great, and just congratulations to him. And isn't that the American spirit right there? Things happen, Things happen to you, and what do? Pick up your bootstraps and just get to work. And that's what we do best as a country. Right there, my friend. That's what it is. And congratulations to him. So if you're looking for a brand new tractor, get over there. Get right over there to Phil's. So businesses, if you're a Schedule C on your 1040, on your regular tax return, and you've got Schedule C, yes, you do qualified for that business income credit. Okay? QBI, business income credit. And the IRS has issued some new guidance on that. That is that whole Section 199A. A lot of people are still unsure of some things with it. I don't want to get into any real specific law here because, for one thing, this stuff can be really tedious. There's just a lot of law and the application of it. But there's been a little confusion. Schedule C, that means you file a 1040, you are a sole proprietor or a single member LLC. Okay, now there is a rule for husband and wife partnership. Husband and wife partnership, it's two partners, husband and wife, they've set their business up as a partnership. They can file Schedule C and not file a partnership return. They can file Schedule C on their 1040, 50-50 split, or 50, if they're a 50-50 split. Schedule C, it'll split it evenly. But that's Schedule C, not a C corporation. There's been a little confusion there. C corporations, which is a traditional Inc. or an entity that is chosen to be taxed as a C corporation. So let me break that down a little bit. I know I've only got 4 minutes you can make a college course out of this. What I'm going to teach you. You get it all here, Todd. You get it all here, okay? So a C corporation is taxed as an individual entity. It pays taxes. Whereas an S corporation breaks the profit down to all its members and gives its members a K-1. It's a form, the equivalent of a W-2. Okay, it has tax information on it. Each member, they're called members in an LLC, each member gets the K-1 and it will break down income, expenses, and a lot of information that goes on there so they can put it on their personal tax return. So all the members file this information with their personal tax return. The actual LLC, the S corporation, which is typically an LLC, the S corporation does not pay any taxes. The individual members pay the taxes. Okay? Now, they do have to do a North Carolina filing, and they do pay North Carolina minimum $200 tax, and they might have some tax due to North Carolina. But to the federal, no. A C corporation will pay the tax just like an entity, like an individual. Okay, that's where you get back to the whole reason we have S corporations are being taxed as an S corporation. The whole reason that was even invented was because with a C corporation, you are paying income tax twice if you're the owner or you're the primary owner. Let's say you're a small C corp that has 2 owners, 3 owners. They pay taxes on the money they get paid from the corporation, and then the corporation itself pays taxes on any net income. So you're in essence being taxed twice. Well, when the tax rate for corporations was so high, this made sense. But now, thanks to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was given to us by who? President Trump. Biggest tax reform since 1985. That has lowered the corporate tax rate, dropped it down so substantially. So now some companies are actually looking, because there are individuals that are in a higher tax bracket as individuals than the C Corp tax bracket. I'm not going to get into the numbers because that's not the point of it. I just want to give people the nutshell of what's going on here and not to make this mistake. You need to talk to your tax preparer, or you need to talk to me or whoever you're using to see if this is a direction you want to go in. But I wanted to explain it to people. The confusion has been, I've got 1 minute left. The confusion has been that Schedule C is not the same as a C Corp. So there are some S Corp entities right now that the members would pay less tax if they were taxed as a C Corp, not an S Corp. So people are looking at this, okay? Because a C Corp does not qualify for the qualified business income credit. And that is a credit that is a below-the-line credit. It's right below the standard deduction, and it lowers your taxable income. It's substantial, and it's really been a big deal. So if you have an S Corp and you're wondering what the best way to go, you want to review your taxes, talk to your tax preparer, your tax advisor, your CPA, whoever you use, your EA, tax attorney. Talk about this, because this is the time to review this. I've seen it with inventory systems. I've seen it with a lot of things. We just do things year to year because it's what we did last year. All that's got to stop. It's a new year. It's a new tax code. We need to sit down and look at this, because what you did before may not be the best today. That's the bottom line of where this was all going. We're out of time. Thank you. I will see you next week, next Saturday at 8 a.m. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM, FM 100.9.
And cardinals will be gathered in a very picturesque chapel in the Apostolic